Welcome to another episode of The Creative Writer. Today we are going to talk about the limits of storytelling. And the limits of storytelling. Yeah, I was recently, there's a backstory to this, so let me start with that. I was recently watching this TV show with my sister. It's called The Good Doctor, I believe. I can't remember the characters' names, but yeah, it was Good Doctor. There's like this hospital with surgeons and doctors. And all the surgeons are working all kinds of, diseases and injuries and so on. And my sister pointed out that it's not realistic. In real life, one surgeon wouldn't work on everything. They wouldn't, do surgeries on every kind of disease or, injury or so on. So yeah, that's not realistic. And I started uh, I began to think about it from the writer's point of view, which is what I do when I watch TV shows or read something, actually. I do that a lot. I justify things because I'm a writer too. But I also think readers actually acknowledge the limits of storytelling sometimes even better than us writers do, and they do it sometimes even more constantly than we do. So, yeah, there's that too. So, what I'm saying is your story can't be realistic, like completely. That's what I'm saying. And what I mean by that is, like for example, this show, it would be boring if they only had one kind of disease, one kind of injury, or like a few different diseases and injuries that they were, talking about in the show. That would get boring fast, and they would lose, people watching the show. And no one would, be interested long enough to watch the whole season even. So that's not an option. And then there's, there's the thing where you could have, plenty of surgeons or like doctors, and there could be like tens of doctors, even like dozens of doctors. But then there would be way too many characters, and it wouldn't work for the sake of the story. So for the sake of the story and for the sake of storytelling, they're doing this way. They have they have a limited number of characters that do all of these things, even though it's not realistic. And I really get that, because that's the limit of storytelling and the limit of story, actually. So, I think we writers should acknowledge it better, like consciously acknowledge it, uh, even when we are writing. I think I do it a lot when I'm reading. When I'm in the position of a reader, I think yeah, definitely it has to go this way, because if you had like more characters or simplified something, it would be boring or too complex. Either one. And that wouldn't work, and I wouldn't be invested in the story anymore, and so on. So I think we writers should acknowledge this consciously when we are writing too, and maybe some of us do, but I feel like not all of us quite think about it, actually think about it, even though you might have realized it. Perhaps you are not still you're not actively thinking about it, and I feel like that's a common problem with writers. We may think about some of these things as readers, but not as writers, and that's a problem often, at least for some of us. But as I've talked previously, not all, writers are the same. We are individuals. Uh, but what I'm saying here is, you know, sorry. What I'm saying is you should acknowledge the limit of storytelling, and don't have too many side characters, don't have to simple, like if you're writing for example about a hospital or something, it's okay if this one doctor has more kind of they're dealing with different kind of diseases, even though it's not realistic. I think it's okay for the sake of the story, when it makes sense to do it this way and not that way, and when it's for the reader so they can understand better. It's about to start raining out here, and that's what wind is getting worse. I hope you can still hear me. Anyway, so that's all I want to say. I want you to actually start thinking about the limits of storytelling and the limits of story, and start knowingly doing decisions for the sake of your story and for the sake of storytelling in your story. But that's all for today. Once again, all my information is in the episode description, so if you have any questions or feedback or anything, there's all my social media, email, and website and everything. So yeah, definitely check that out. And yeah, I think that's all for today. Thank you so much for being here once again, and I hope I see you in the next episode. Happy writing. Goodbye, creatives.